backyard mechanic. Hola, I'm Mike, the backyard mechanic, and it's opinion time. Everyone has a favorite Batmobile, usually based on the era they grew up, kind of like your favorite cast of Saturday Night Live. I grew up watching the 60s Batman television show, in reruns. But is it my favorite? You'll have to wait for number one. First, the criteria. The cars have to be from a movie, no comics or cartoons. I mean animations. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, the 60s Batman was a television show. You're forgetting the 1966 Batman movie.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Another factor for me is I like the Batmobiles that are more like real cars. Giant rolling Hollywood props aren't as exciting. Sorry, Joel Schumacher. I went back and forth on which Schumacher vehicle was worse. I decided on a tie, but first I'll go over the Clooney Car. I did not say clown car. From 1997's Batman and Robin. Yes, the one with the nipples. This Batmobile was inspired by the Jaguar D-Type and extremely long 1930s cars like the Delahaye. It has a Chevy 350 LS3 with about 350 horsepower. The prototype tires came without tread, so they carved bats into it, which left a bat trail. It has a custom chassis, which it had to be, because this monstrosity is 33 feet long. How is a 33-foot car practical? That's the length of a school bus. Does Batman have to stop at railroad tracks? Does he have to make right turns from the left lane like a truck? Or all of his turns 6 points? This was the only single-seat Batmobile, which was ironic since this is the movie with Robin. Where do I sit, Batman? In the Bat trunk. Holy drive-ins! I hate the trunk! Do you want to ride or not? This was the epitome of design over functionality. The Clooney Car was so expensive they only made one. All stunts were in miniatures or computer graphics. Those hyper-real 1997 computer graphics. The one where Batman drives on a statue. There was a third Joel Schumacher movie planned, Batman Unchained. It was canned because this one did so badly. Or maybe because the concern was that Batman Unchained would be starring the Bat Gimp. Also tied for last is the Val Kilmer Batmobile from 1995's Batman Forever. Following the dark Tim Burton universe, Joel Schumacher was tasked with lightening up Batman and selling toys. To give the Batmobile a less dark and fun look, Schumacher asked for help from exactly whom you'd expect him to ask. H.R. Giger. Yes, that H.R. Giger. Really, I think Batman Unchained was going to be Schumacher's autobiography. Giger actually did a design for them, but it was so literally alien they didn't know how to use it. They still used a Giger theme as well as inspiration from ocean creatures and microbiology to make it look like there was something living there under the ribs. Ribs. For her pleasure. Small clay models were made, then actual size, where they could make molds for fiberglass and carbon fiber panels. This was then placed on a custom chassis. The Batmobile had a 350 LS3 high-performance motor with high compression, 345 horsepower, aluminum heads, and angled plugs. It's cool how fast this is and all, but it looks like it never goes more than 20 miles an hour in the movie. The impressive flame size in the back was achieved using a hot air balloon engine, fueled with propane and nitrous oxide. The wheels use hyperboloid gears on the axles so the Batmobile can suddenly move 90 degrees left to right and avoid Two-Face's rocket launcher. There's also that climbing a wall thing that was so believable, we will just move on to the next one. Tim Burton did the first take on Batman since the colorful campy 60s show. He wanted a darker, more serious tone based on the gritty Frank Miller comics after Robin was sent off to college. They grow up so fast. Get out! It was inspired by the 50s Corvette Stingray and long, salt flatland speed racers of the 30s. The designer famously forgot to put doors on it, so as an afterthought they went with a sliding canopy like a jet fighter. They used a Japanese paint called flip-flop, which looked purple one way and blue another way. 2 cars were built for the film and 3 additional cars were built for promotion. The actual film Batmobile can go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in a very impressive 3.7 seconds in 1989. The specs of this one are hard to come by, but it seems to be a Chevy 327. The car was fast, but couldn't go over 90 miles an hour because the back fins were noticeably different, and that caused the back end to wobble. The Hero Car chassis is two Chevy Impala frames welded together, while the second car is the frame of an Oldsmobile Cutlass. It has several cool features to take out goony villains and a self-enclosing cocoon to protect itself while it blows up a factory. It also has what I guess is Bat Skinny mode? They can't all be winners. The Burton Batmobile is indeed cool and getting closer to my criteria that it is a real car. But the car is 20 feet long. I don't dream about taking a land speed cruiser to the grocery store. I think if it were 2 or 3 feet shorter, it would have given the car a less exaggerated, sporty stance. One of the things that always bothered me about this one is it doesn't look like it's made out of metal. The surface is not quite straight. It feels like a plastic car. And that takes away from me taking it seriously. Based on a napkin drawing from a coffee shop with input from Zack Snyder, Patrick Tatopoulos designed the Batmobile for the 2016 Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie. He drew inspiration from Anton Furst's Batmobile from Tim Burton's 1989 film, aiming for a dark and gritty aesthetic, although the Tumbler was an obvious influence. Snyder wanted an unrefined vehicle that looked like it had been used in battle before. The design went from the napkin straight to a computer CAD program. In addition to the design, clearances and dynamics could be tested before the build. The 1989 Batmobile was done with clay models. It's interesting to see the progression of technology over the years. Dennis McCarthy of Vehicle FX in LA built racers for the Baja 1000 and applied that experience to the Snyder Mobile. It has a custom welded steel chassis. The back tires are 500 pounds each and the front shocks have 2 feet of travel. The motor is a 6.2 LS3 V8 from a Chevy Camaro producing 500 equine energies. It was mounted backwards behind the driver's seat so the front end could have a low profile. Its features were smoke bombs, missiles, and guns. It also had some sort of electrified force field that pre-ignited explosives. This was a cross between a Raptor jet fighter and an F1 sports car. I like how real this vehicle actually is and that it's not a delicate fiberglass prop like from the 80s and 90s. It definitely looks mean and I like the profile. It is the heaviest Batmobile ever made at 8,500 pounds, which doesn't exactly sound quick and nimble. And it's not black.
Does it come in black?
No, it doesn't. Ironically, as much as the Batman looks like Frank Miller's version, the Batmobile did not. It's definitely cool, but it doesn't scream Batmobile. The Schumacher cartoony Batmobiles were preceded by a complete change in tone. Similar to Burton, inspiration came from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, taking in military vehicles like the Humvee and, of course, a Lamborghini. The Tumbler was designed by Nathan Crowley with serious input from Christopher Nolan, who even made some clay models of what he was looking for. He should not quit his day job. A model was ultimately made from clay in various model kits, skipping the traditional design stage of concept drawings and renderings. With a custom chassis, Hoosier racing tires up front and Super Swampers in the back, they ended up with a usable vehicle that could do its own stunts. So they started beating on it, doing jump after jump to test it, find flaws and reinforce it. It could actually do 70-foot jumps, but the 7,000-pound vehicle would bottom out, so they built a hydraulic bump stop to cushion the blow. It was powered by a 5.7-liter LS1 Chevy V8 and a Chevy gearbox, producing 400 Colt capacities that could do 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. If the Schumacher mobiles were form with little function, this was pure function. It crashed through walls, ran over cars, and did multiple jumps, including the famous one in the tunnel to try and avoid a rocket launcher from the Joker. In the movie, it was a military project developed by Wayne Enterprises. Its self-destruct mode ejects Batman onto a bat pod. Wait, doesn't that belong to Batgirl?
Batgirl! Batgirl!
Despite the fact that this is the first Batmobile to not be called the Batmobile in the films, this was a seriously cool vehicle. The Snyder Mobile lacked an iconic look that this one achieved. It's hard to not have a visceral reaction to the Tumbler when it's on the screen. You might not recognize the name I gave to the most famous Batmobile, but it refers to George Barris, the car customizer famous for the Munster Coach, Dragula, the Beverly Hillbillies truck, and later versions of KITT. George Barris was the creator of the 1960s Batmobile. I'm sure everyone watching this knows the Batmobile was based on a 1955 Lincoln Futura, which was a concept car from Ford. Barris bought the car for $1 because Ford owed him money. The Futura was designed by William M. Schmidt. The Futura concept car first appeared in the 1959 movie It Started With a Kiss, starring Glenn Ford and Debbie Reynolds. It was painted red because it showed up better on film. There was only one of these made. That is the Batmobile. The Batmobile had a 390 6.4-liter Lincoln V8 engine producing 330 pony powers, and it was coupled with a B&M hydro-automatic transmission. It had Mickey Thompson tires and the suspension was stock, very 60s. It even had drum brakes. So why is the most famous Batmobile not at the top of the list? It has a police siren on top. Or is that a fire engine siren? Either way, I know in the show Batman is basically a costume cop, but the siren looks like the car is wearing a little crown. I'm also not a fan of the orange pinstriping. I know it was done to help the car pop on new color TVs, although technically it was a bicolor red that looked orange at certain angles. The bat phone was cool enough, but there was no dial. How did it know if you were talking to Commissioner Gordon or a parachute pickup? This is a deal breaker. Sometimes the truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. Sometimes people deserve to have faith in having their content rewarded. Like this video. A hero can be anyone, even a man doing something as simple and reassuring as putting a coat around a little boy's shoulders to let him know the world hasn't ended. Or by liking this video. I have one power. I never give up. Until you like this video. Men are still good. We fight, we kill, we betray one another. But we can rebuild. We can do better. We will. Like this video. Won't we? Wait a minute. The 1966 Batmobile is not the favorite? I'll get to that. In the prelude novel to the 2022 movie, The Batman, a young Bruce Wayne turns out to be a gearhead and is racing a late 60s Charger. He later modifies it himself to fight crime. Director Matt Reeves wanted the Batmobile to perform like the Bat suit. It needed to be muscular and perform, but have a purpose. The base idea was a rear exposed V10 engine in a 60s muscle car. The black 1968 Dodge Charger from the film Bullitt was inspiration, as well as the Neil Adams Batmobiles of the 70s. The Super Friends Batmobile was not a factor. It's not a Charger, it's a wide-body custom kit that looks like one. There are 4 cars, 3 of them for various stunts with Chevy V8s producing 627 stallion forces. And then the Hero Car, which contains a Tesla electric drivetrain. Turns out an EV is great for a movie car. It doesn't interrupt the dialogue. Where the Batmobile really stands out is the filming. The Batmobile wakes up to the sound effect of a bottle rocket slowed down 60 times, a World War II Jeep in reverse, and a big block Ford engine, all while there's backfiring coming from the intake and side pipes. The chase with the Penguin is one of the better chases I've seen. It has the look and feel of the Bourne Identity's frenetic camera movement and editing. While the open motor rear of the car is the standout feature, the massive battering ram on the front bumper helps balance it as it jumps through the fiery explosion and slams into the Penguin's Maserati Quattroporte. So why does the Batman Batmobile win over the 1966 Batmobile? Now don't get me wrong, I like 1950s styles cars, I just don't love them. Despite the Batmobile being an icon of the 60s, it's based on a 1955 design, complete with the garish wings. The Batman Batmobile is based on a late 60s Charger, and I'm a fan of the Coke bottle body styles used on the Charger, GTO, and Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo? I'm partial because a 1972 Monte Carlo was my first car that I bought for 175 bucks. Am I dating myself? You're probably wondering how I bought a car that old for that little money when I'm only 29 years old. Well, it's because, oh, I have a fan online. Hey fan, did you like the video?
I'm Batman. Fear not, old chum. The 1960s Batmobile may not be number 1, but its virtue remains unmatched. A temporary setback. Gotham's finest chariot shall rise again, for justice always prevails.
Thanks, fan. If you have a different opinion on my list, post a comment. This is one video where I expect 0 comments and 100% agreement. I have more Batmobile content ready for the next video, so make sure and subscribe so you don't miss it. Why else would you be watching this far into the video if you are not a fan? In the meantime, watch this video on the formula to determine which used cars are reliable. Who knows? You could use that information to bag yourself a Batmobile. You don't want to end up with a Batmobile made by Fiat. Hey cat, you're messing up my scene. This is the Bat Cat. Hello, little kitty. He's afraid of bats.